It's our duty to make it good times for the fans that pay their money to see us perform each and every night. Every stitch of clothes except this rented tuxedo that I have on, every car that I've ever owned, every house that I've ever lived in, every school that I ever sent my children to was paid for by the fans of professional wrestling.
When a professional wrestler passes away, it seems like even people who don't follow wrestling anymore come out and talk about their experiences growing up watching wrestling. And now that Steve and I have grown up and are in our 30s, we still watch wrestling, obviously, every week. And still very involved, love to go to events. So when something like this happens where a figure in our lives that we watched growing up and we know just from the sound of his voice passes away, like Dusty Rhodes, who passed away last Thursday at the age of 69, it hits us pretty hard. So we're going to dedicate this show to Dusty Rhodes and just talk about our experiences with watching Dusty and just overall our impressions, the legacy he lives, because just because he's passed away does not mean that he's gone, because there's a whole batch of wrestlers that we haven't even seen, we haven't even heard of, that are going to be making WB roster moves and coming up, and they're going to be making their careers and heavily influenced by Dusty Rhodes. So Steve, I want to talk about this because it's one of those things where you look at your phone and you see it was a text, but you don't believe it, and it's almost one of those things. I talked to other friends that said I thought it was one of those hoax tweets that somebody photoshopped Triple H saying, he has passed away, or somebody photoshopped a WWE.com article saying that he passed away, but gonna have to verify it, and TMZ had it up. It's one of those things where you look at it like, well, no way. Like Dusty Rhodes, he's one of those guys up with the ranks of Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair, other guys that are known just even out of wrestling. That is, you don't believe it when you first hear it.
Yeah, and I think this one catches you off guard because a lot of times you hear about these wrestlers and then you look into their history and it's like, all right, tons of drugs, tons of steroids, tons of booze, this, and that. And Dusty was one of these beloved figures forever and didn't have that baggage with him that you don't talk about that kind of thing. You don't associate those things with him. You associate the charismatic, fun-loving guy, and because we've seen him so much still due to his work with NXT that he's been doing, it becomes, even though he was 69, it is an unexpected thing because it's unexpected. You didn't hear it and go, well, yeah, he did do this and this. It caught. I mean, I didn't know what to say. I heard it, I'm like, you gotta be, how the hell?
Yeah.
I mean, I was watching something on TV and one of the specialists talking and stuff. So
yeah, it's crazy because even after hearing that he passed away, and it's like, was he? He was heavily involved in NXT. We know that, and he just did a podcast 2 days before with the interview with the Random Podcast. 2 days before, and was talking, hey, I'm doing something. I forget where he was doing it, but Thursday and Friday, kind of promoting an event, and talking like good health and everything. And then he takes, this is reportedly, and we, obviously we don't know the full story because this is just being reported by news outlets. Is that he fell Wednesday morning and was rushed to the hospital, and then his kidneys failed during that time to where he fell to where he passed, and it was 24 hours, more than 24 hours. So we know how close that family is because we know Cody Rhodes. We know, Dustin from being Goldust.
yeah,
They, even when Dusty, stepped away from the ring, there was Goldust. And we know that Goldust is the son of Dusty Rhodes. And then there was Cody. And Cody's still young, and he's making his mark, and now he's Stardust. And the only thing I want to talk to you, obviously about later is, will this bring back Cody Rhodes? But we know that the Rhodes family, it's one of those families that is, professional wrestling is in their blood. So it's not one of those random person, like you said, that hey, hey, he did drugs or he partied a little bit too much and steroids, and
Right.
it's one of those shocking moments to where it's like, wow, it kind of hits you hard, and you kind of have to say, well, is this real? But we know from their family and Goldust and Cody, they're very, very close, and it catches you off guard, and it's really, really
and
hard.
extensions of their families too, because even if, as most people probably may have noticed, at Money in the Bank, you saw it was Lillian Garcia and it was JoJo.
Yeah.
Because Eden is married to Cody Rhodes. She was there, and of course she Instagram put out a really nice tweet too. So it's like, I mean, Dusty's a family man. That's what he's always prided himself on. He's a common man, and so it's the extension of the family too. Being a part of it all, rushing there. The one thing my thoughts went to, aside from growing up and watching him, was more immediately in the moment, being from like a closer family and growing up and watching with my brothers, and I sat there and thought, man, it's awesome at least that he was able to be part of a storyline with his sons.
Oh yeah.
And then get to watch them win the tag team titles together.
Yeah.
Thank goodness that they had that moment, because I think that's one of the coolest things ever that I wish I could have, like with my brothers. And if my dad had been a wrestler, that would have been amazing. That was one of the things I thought about, just knowing how close of a family we were, to be able to know that they still got to share that moment together. I think that's super cool, and at least a positive to reflect back on a more recent memory with them in WWE.
And how cool that the last either on screen man to take the bionic elbow is Dean Ambrose, who took that during that match you just mentioned.
Yeah.
He's the last person to take the elbow, at least on WWE TV. But one of the things, my early memories, and obviously Dusty performed way before that we were born in the 70s and 80s, and
sure.
But one favorite is how crazy he was on the mic when he did commentary for WCW early on, before kind of Monday Night Wars. He was a part of that, but it was just you listen to some of those pay-per-views, and some of those bits are he's got a bicycle, and some of those crazy promos. As an announcer was just terrific. He knew how to work a crowd. He knew how to work a mic. He knew what to say at the perfect time. And, he wasn't a Hulk Hogan type guy. He wasn't a bodybuilder. He was the common man. He was a guy that stepped out of first row of wrestling at the arena, stepped in the ring, put some tights on, and wrestled. And he worked the crowd, and he got the crowd behind him because he looked like the common man, and he was the common man.
Yeah, it's funny how we talk about now how certain people don't look the part of a wrestler, and we have this image of this bodybuilder in our minds, and so ingrained, like that's what a wrestler should look like. So we talk about, oh, here comes Kevin Owens out of the norm. Bray Wyatt doesn't have the body type. Samoa Joe. I'm like, well, these guys don't look like they're wrestlers, and we act like wrestlers have always looked like what we anticipate, and then you're reminded, like, well, no, because way back when, one of the best and greatest to ever do it was Dusty Rhodes, and he sure as hell didn't look like that.
No. And then he even when the industry went towards bodybuilding and Vince tried to do his bodybuilding,
right.
federation and, putting over guys that were larger than life, he was still, Dusty Rhodes is still the man.
He was still larger than life.
Yeah. I remember
Dusty Rhodes, baby.
You
and Sapphire
with Beth for business. He and back when he was on top of the world, one particular scene or clip that they keep on playing is when I think it was the Four Horsemen came out and broke his arm in the parking lot. They followed him to the studio. And they're in their 1980 car, like the old cars, and the shaky camera, some old time camera, and they film out to where they actually hit his arm, so it looks like he's breaking his arm, but they're really nice, tied to the car, like things like that, to where it had to be really, really cool to watch professional wrestling back in the early 1980s because it felt real. There's real life storylines. Obviously, industry has changed, and now a little more PG, but. He was perfect for that era.
Yeah.
And it carried over to now because there's so many people now that are developing that have been touched by Dusty Rhodes, and they're going to take that. And one thing that really would make any man cry was when they came back before Money in the Bank from this tribute, and Renee Young
could not handle it.
She could not handle.
They didn't put anybody on camera, but you knew it wasn't just her. You had the feeling that, okay, those guys are dead silent, and she could barely speak.
Yeah.
But there was a reason they weren't showing any of them on camera. And, when they came back again from her and she was still broken. I mean, that's the part that hit me. I was like watching the stream, like, man, this is really good. This is a great tribute, and this is just awful. And you're sitting there and feeling terrible. But then, they go back to Renee, and it's just like, oh my God, like I'm gonna lose it over this woman doing that. And then they come back again, and you can kind of see, like, in Corey Graves' eyes and face, like, all right, she was not the only one tearing. They were all bawling like babies, and that's a testament to like who Dusty Rhodes was.
Yeah.
You think back, like when Eddie Guerrero passed away, everybody was very upset about it but he was in there with them. I think because how involved Dusty Rhodes was with everyone. This is the first of, I think, like the legends where I really that everybody is just so upset because of how involved he was backstage and everything. It's different than a wrestling guy that you're wrestling with all the time. So we don't always see that aspect, and you understand that camaraderie. This, I think, brings to the forefront for everybody publicly, like Dusty Rhodes has a big hand in a lot of the people that we're watching right now.
Yeah, and there's, like I said in the opening, there's a lot of wrestlers in NXT that you haven't seen or still developing or haven't made if you don't watch NXT, haven't made the main roster, that Dusty has worked on constantly. And with promos, he had his own promo class. I'm sure the wrestling aspect came into it. And it's just, it's when Renee lost it, and then they went to, to Tom, and Tom was kind of smiling, but the thing is, they don't do those things live. Those are all taped well in advance that day. So it's not like Tom was the only one smiling like, oh, we're backstage. Like, those are taped before, they taped those earlier in the day, and they play them, they play them to get the show, going. It's smooth, but it's, when Renee lost it, I lost it in the 10 bell, and and this is, Vince was, they played Dusty's music, and everybody's clapping along, and Vince was shaking his leg like he was going to do a dance, and then they cut the screen up and they faded. I'm like, no, I want to see Vince get down to Dusty's
He's going to do the knees.
Yeah. And I know Dusty and Vince, they have a checkered past with each other relationship.
Checkered or polka dot?
Oh, touche. Very, very good reference there, Steve. And Vince, gave Dusty the polka dot gimmick because out of spite, and Dusty owned it.
But killed it.
Killed it, dude.
Killed it.
He's like,
one
okay.
man is going to wear black and yellow polka dots and just kill it. It's going to be the American dream.
And he went over so much, and he was still didn't kill the American dream at all. It was still Dusty. And, a lot of us, that's when we first get into wrestling, is remembering Dusty Rhodes and the polka dots. We don't remember the bloody battles with Flair and the parking lot brawls and the actual real cage matches with the prickered, tops of like the fence. Like those were the real cage matches. We don't remember that. We remember Dusty as the guy in the polka dots. Like, oh, that's the guy. No, Dusty Rhodes.
I had the old rubber wrestling figure of Dusty in his polka dots.
There's so many promos. You can go on YouTube and spend hours just listening to his promos. But he owned it, and he was crazy as the polka dot guy. And
his promos certainly didn't fall off.
No.
They weren't as, like everybody keeps replaying the Hard Times one, which is a phenomenal promo. So they weren't as geared towards that, towards socioeconomic stuff, but still charismatic as hell.
Yeah.
And an awesome promo. I was like, I remember as a kid, I like this guy.
Yeah, and it makes you think, like, okay, guys nowadays, wrestlers nowadays, if Vince goes up to him and says, hey, you're gonna wear polka dots, and you're gonna come out and you're gonna do some dances. I mean, look at Brodus Clay, who basically came out to dance in the disco, and he hated it. And he tried to own it. It didn't work, but it takes a certain guy, and like CM Punk, if CM Punk was told to wear polka dots,
that was not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. Guys nowadays, and it takes a special kind of man to embrace that and say, okay, I'm gonna make it work. I'm gonna make you a ton of money. You do it out of spite, but I'm gonna make it work, and he did. And even on commentary for WCW, went back to WWE, and then he was on the writing staff with with Stephanie in the 2000s for SmackDown, and then he's been with NXT and embrawled, and he's been on TV here and there. But he even joined the NWO for a short time, which was terrific. He didn't come out the NWO colors, but we're getting up to almost about 20 years since the Attitude Era started. I mean, 1996, late 96.
Yeah. So
we're about 19 years. It's going to be 20th anniversary of when Vince had that great promo. But it's a lot of these guys that we watch in the Attitude Era. We see them. Hey, they come to indie shows, AIW, WrestleCon, and even guys that are still make the trips on TV for WWE and TNA. We're getting to that point, Steve, that maybe we had Warrior last year, this year Dusty, that maybe every year, every so often, we're going to have a guy that we watched growing up that was on our TVs every Monday night, on our TVs once a month on Sunday, that are going to be passing away. And this one hurt a lot. And I will admit that when Flair dies, Ric Flair, I'm going to lose it. And when Lawler dies, I'm going to lose it. I was losing it when he almost passed away 3 years ago when he had his heart attack
that was
on
insane
TV.
Then, yeah.
But we've talked about this before the show, is that Robin Williams, when he passed away last year, as a comic for you, influenced, and we all know his movies, Mrs. Doubtfire, all these other movies that we know him from, and that touched us. And it's wrestling, I think, is a little bit different because they're on TV every week for years and years and years, and they don't leave, and their legacy is always there. And a lot of these wrestlers, they have sons that are on TV, and they come back to be their manager or on-screen, relationship, and it's tough because they feel like your family. And Dusty was one of those guys that was always on my TV for WCW, and then obviously influenced NXT. It's going to be very hard when these guys that we watched for so many years start passing away.
Well, I think it already started, really, but we hadn't seen him on TV or in anything for so long. I think it really started with Macho Man when he passed away. Yeah. It was like, oh my God, I watch this guy all the time. Before, as a little kid, growing up, before you had favorite baseball player, favorite football players, before you understand who those individuals were, you watched wrestling, and you knew it because there were the characters and the faces. You knew exactly who they were, and you really did grow up with them. I mean, in Cleveland, football-wise, sure, we have Bernie Kosar, and a lot of us our age all grew up with him. But he was the quarterback, and that was why. In wrestling, every single guy is the quarterback and getting that camera time and the storyline, and you're learning about them and growing up with them in your face. So, yeah, I mean, it's gonna be that moment. Simple things, like there's the story of Kamala and the hard times that he had fallen on, and that breaks my heart because which is funny for me because Kamala, when I was a little kid, I watched. My mom and dad both love this story. They are divorced, but they will both tell you this story exactly. Mm-hmm. We went to the Richfield Coliseum, and one of the main events was Hulk Hogan and Kamala. And I'm just sitting there going, swim, and then Kamala splashes Hogan from the top rope, and I bawled my eyes out because I thought he killed Hogan right then and there. And I was deathly afraid of Kamala. But, that's a guy that I look back, I'm like, oh my gosh, you still wish it would have turned out better for him. And then it goes back to, I think Hogan is a guy. But, I mean, what's nice to see is that a lot of these guys, It's weird, isn't it? Because we've already lost a lot of people from the Attitude Era quietly.
Yeah.
And then the guys before that, we haven't maybe quite lost the high percentage that you'd think you would. You did lose the Junkyard Dog early, like years ago.
Yeah.
Because it turned out he had like heart disease or something. But some of these guys have turned it around, are leading better lives, and it's unfortunate that with Dusty, it obviously all appears to be a really freak thing. Mm-hmm. Because at 69 years old, who knows? Could have kept going. Hogan, you look at, is in his 60s, but he could be around. Yeah. He seems otherwise healthy. Ric Flair, who knows? But he's Rick's in his 60s, pushing 70. So it's tough to say, but it is going to be upsetting. You start to look at them as like your grandparents or your great uncles.
Yeah.
You know, like,
It's
I
like,
guess they're not going to be around forever.
I mean, I don't want to be like morbid or anything,
No,
but,
yeah.
but you have to think about it is because as we get older, I mean, you think of these large in life characters like, oh, they don't age. You know, they're not going to age.
They'll be around
you know?
forever.
Yeah, they'll be around forever, but we're aging and they are too, and that's life. That happens. People die, but it's the chosen few that have an impact on your life that when they do pass on, it's hard to swallow. And you remember, you know, the time, when I saw Dusty on TV, or even, you know, I had a chance to meet him backstage at a show just to shake his hand, to say, hey, how you doing? I'm Glenn. Nice to meet you. And that was it. But like, that's something you remember. It's something that you take with you.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't know who I was, but I knew who he was. It meant a lot to me. And he had the passion for the business, and he was great at it. And the opening speech I played for the show is his Hall of Fame speech, is when he says that everything that I had, you know, from the house to the car to clothes, was because of wrestling fans.
Yeah.
And that's true. And sometimes I think some of these guys that are prima donnas kind of forget that without people paying to go see them on TV, or watching them on TV and going to see him buy a ticket or buying their, you know, the merch, is that they wouldn't be living the great lifestyle that they do.
Right. I think one of the touching things that always comes about when something like this happens are the stories you didn't know, the stories you didn't hear. And one of my favorite things that has happened from this, on the positive, bright spin of it, is, and I don't know if you saw this, the long story or little letter that Sami Zayn wrote. And it was phenomenal, and he just told some short stories about Dusty and how close he was. And one of the things he loved is how he didn't get anybody's name right, ever. and he screwed people's names up, and sometimes intentionally. And one of the best was Kevin Owens, because he comes into WWE or the NXT as Kevin Steen, and he's obviously a heel, and everything about him super serious, blah, blah, blah. And they're in their promo class and everything, and he's talking. And Dusty goes to call him, and he calls him Kip Stern. Nowhere near what his name is. And he calls him that, and then Sammy goes on to write that, you know, he called him that several times. For the longest time, he thought that Kevin Steen's name was Kip Stern. Had no idea what it was. and then Sammy kind of goes on to that, like how Dusty backed him up, and he had to come up with, you know, because he dropped El Generico, and he had to come up with his own name. And every time he turned in a list, he always kept Sami Zayn on there, and they kept turning it down. And finally, he had one more list to submit, and Dusty said, well, what name do you like? And he said, I really like Sami Zayn. And then Dusty just sat there and was like, Sami Zayn, and like doing like he saw it on a marquee. And he's like, that's it right there. And he told him, he's like, you tell him the dream said Sami Zayn. And I think it's awesome. And then on top of that, if you find like one of those articles where it talks about wrestlers then tweeting what their thoughts on Dusty and everything, you look at Kevin Owens, and obviously his handle's Fight Owens Fight, but it always shows you like what their name is. Yeah. And sure enough, you have at Fight Owens Fight, but right above that says Kip Stern. Changed his name.
And you hear like all the stories, but the thing is, you don't hear any bad stories.
No.
When someone passes away, maybe you hear like, oh, you know, he did steroids, or he was a jerk, but not with Dusty. I haven't heard one bad thing a person coming out and saying. And even like before he passed, and shoot interviews from other guys, and that just go off the handle about certain people in the industry. You never heard about Dusty Rhodes.
The only thing I had ever heard was him not being keen on the Goldust character.
Right.
And having issues and not talking to Dustin for some time about that.
Which
led to Dustin really not knowing Cody quite as well growing up either.
Yeah.
But again, to look at it from a human perspective, to know that all of that was patched up, and to know that background and that story, and all of it's come full circle, and accepting of everything and all of it, and, you know, then them still getting all to stand up on top of that ramp together with his boys as champions, and, you know, being together as a family, you know, that kind of stuff, that's cool. I think that's something not to get too deep, but families in general. It's like, all right, well, whatever your problem is, you can overcome that.
Yeah.
You can put this past behind, and you can join each other again.
Let us know what your favorite Dusty Rhodes moment is. You can tweet at us at GlenmoreCLE. Steve?
The Steve Guy.
And let us know what your favorite Dusty moment was growing up or now, or WCW, WWE. And I was watching he was in ECW. He made a couple, and what is he wearing in ECW? A Cleveland Browns shirt. He was wearing some flannel, unbuttoned, and underneath was a Cleveland Browns shirt. And the Manhattan Center, the place where ECW was in New York, they were there, but wearing a Cleveland Browns shirt. I still trying to figure out the piece. And was he a Browns fan? Was he a Cleveland Browns fan? I mean, he wasn't from Cleveland.
I was from Austin, Texas.
And why would you be
I
wearing?
think he'd be a Cowboys fan.
Why would you be wearing a Cleveland Browns shirt and ECW TV in New York? That's like a mystery that I definitely want to solve.
He's the dream. He does what he wants.
He can do whatever he wants. Yeah, but it's really touching to see WBE give their tribute. And WBE, say what they want about the programming, say what you want about the PG era, but man, they know how to
put together a memorial.
They know how to
tribute
really
video package.
Touch the feelings of your heart, man. When they,
oh yeah,
and recently, the Warrior one was great. Paul, I mean, all of them are great, but this one, it's perfectly done, and such. I mean, do they have these ready, or do they? Because it's so quick. In a couple of days, they had it ready to go. And even editing this podcast, it takes some time, and I can only imagine going through 40 years of video footage and promos to pick out the best ones and have it in a certain order to where, in this right song and the right ending, to really touch the fan, even a casual fan. That kudos to WWE. I mean, you say what you want about their programming, the PG era, and whatever, but when they want to honor someone, they do it very, very, very well.
I'm not going to make any jokes. I was going to talk about sometimes honoring the wrong people a little too quickly, to your point there. But
man.
But what I was saying before we started is that with Dusty, he almost made your job, well, to your point, 30, 40 years of video package, but he almost makes your job easy because he had so many lines and so many great promos that you didn't know. But when you found out you have to do it, I think going into that, then it becomes, what do I cut out?
Yeah.
For somebody like that, because there's just so much there for him.
Yeah.
It's not like the Warrior. We had pretty much one speech and then, a lot of grunting. Yeah, a lot of snarls. Dusty did a lot of talking and said a lot of great stuff. So
yeah. And like I said, a lot of the NXT, every NXT wrestler, announcer, commentator, has worked with Dusty, and the impact of Dusty doesn't just die when he has passed. It's going to live on for the next 10 to 15 years, because like I said, there's wrestlers that haven't even made their WB debuts yet that are going to have been greatly impacted by Dusty Rhodes. And you can see Renee Young, who had, I'm sure she went through all the, promos and how to cut a promo, how to interview with Dusty, and that's why she was touched so much by the promo on live TV and her reaction to it. It's sad, and wrestling has lost one of probably the greatest performers ever over the time span of the last 30, 40 years. It's even before that ever. And it's sad, and like you said, I think you said it perfectly, Steve. Is it's like, Warrior had problems.
Sure,
it's not with Dusty. Obviously, he wasn't the most athletic looking man, but he can still out wrestle a lot of the guys even now. If Dusty was in his prime, and he can, he was trying to lose weight reportedly. I think. I forget an interview. Someone said that he was trying to Briscoe said he was trying to lose weight. He knew he had to lose weight, and you can see that, with especially in 2013 with the battle with the match with the Shield. He looked in shape. even years before that with his Hall of Fame induction, he looked big, and then 6-7 years later, he did look in better shape. But just from a fall, man, and 24 hours from a nasty fall, he's gone. And the one thing from that is, at least it gave time for Cody and Goldust and the family to kind of get to him.
To get to him, yeah.
Because I know how important it is for them. It's very, and thinking about Cody and Goldust, and it's kind of, I don't want to move on and talk about Money in the Bank and Raw a little bit. We do want to do that for this podcast. We're not going to play an interview. We have plenty of interviews to go, but we wanted to kind of dedicate this one to Dusty. Is the Stardust character, not really big on it. It was cool with Goldust and Stardust were together, but with Goldust on the shelf with the injury, and now, would you want to bring back Cody Rhodes and bring back that character to kind of bring back the Rhodes name to? They're kind of teasing it before this happened.
I think they were already kind of building towards it. I think this is almost one of those moments where it transcends the storylines and everything. Everybody already knows. So maybe you just don't even mention it. Just drop Stardust, and back comes Cody Rhodes.
Yeah.
I don't think come back into because fans know Stardust is Cody Rhodes. Fans know Cody Rhodes is the son of Dustin Rhodes, or Dusty Rhodes. You're not going to have, even if he comes out as Stardust, you're not going to immediately have that. It's just not going to work where he's trying to go at it back and forth with the fans. There was supposed to be a quick thing of him and the guy that's on the show Arrow. They were talking about maybe teasing, but
some Steven guy.
Yeah, but forget it. Just Cody, have Cody come back, and because people aren't going to buy into it at this point.
Yeah.
Or not that they're not necessarily going to buy into it, but they want to be on his side now. Is what's going to happen.
I agree. And you gotta. I think you gotta do it. And obviously, Goldust, he's not retired. He's going to probably come back. Whenever he does, it's going to be emotional. But I think, and people are wondering, looking for Cody and Goldust, and when they did their tribute, why? I was scratching my head, why would Goldust and Cody be there? They haven't even put their father in the ground yet. Why would they make their way to Columbus, Ohio, to not even be on the show? That's
right.
I found that head scratching on Twitter because a lot of people were asking about, oh, where's Goldust and Cody? Where are they? Are they going to be there? Are they be in the front? And that's probably the last thing on their mind is getting back to work with Dusty with passing away. But wrestling, the WBE, this all happened when WBE was here in Cleveland. We had scheduled a lot of interviews on Friday for NXT. With Dusty's passing, WWE did not make their NXT roster available, which understandably, all of them had worked with Dusty. It was a very emotional night. They had a tribute to Dusty on Friday and also Saturday in Columbus for NXT in Columbus, and also obviously Sunday and Monday you guys saw if you watch Raw and Money in the Bank. But WWE, the ground zero for wrestling was here in Cleveland and Columbus, here in Ohio, and a lot of great matches. We're not going to really go in deep about NXT because just some house shows, but it was nice to see Samoa Joe, who we saw at AIW just last month here in Cleveland for NXT. He'll be back here at AIW next month.
In
July for Absolution. And who knows if once he fulfills his indie dates, that is he going to be on the main roster? So that was cool to see. Him and Owens and Finn Balor and Tyler Breeze, by the four best guys in NXT, wrestle in a fatal four-way. All hit their finishers. Owens gets over, retains the title. It was a great match. That was one of the highlights. Charlotte versus Sasha was a great match, and Pittsburgh had a match. Thursday. I'm sure those shows were all the same, match-wise. No Becky Lynch though. That kind of made me a little upset. I was looking forward to seeing her. But we saw Dana Brooke. Dana Brooke, who is from Cleveland, make her Cleveland debut as in NXT here at the Agora. So that was cool. They had all their family in the balcony above, kind of above the ring. They were all there, so that was pretty cool. But Money in the Bank, really quick, Rollins retains. Not a shocker. I wasn't surprised about that.
But an original ending. I thought that was good.
Yeah, that was.
We had yet
it
to
was
ever
good.
see that happen. So that was unique.
Yeah.
And the fact that they both grab it and they come down with it.
The shocker of the night, to me, and the betting is Sheamus winning Money in the Bank, which please don't let him cash in anytime soon. I was reading that he's going to keep it until next year and hold on to it, and then they're going to use it when that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles comes out, because Sheamus is going to be one of the characters in the movie, and it's going to be one big promo.
I guess.
But
I don't know.
I don't give WB Creative that much a year in advance. I don't buy that. But that was a thing that I saw on the internet. But Okay, Sheamus, Money in the Bank. I mean, is he gonna be one of those guys that cashes in and loses? Maybe, hopefully, but that came out of nowhere, because I knew kind of in England that Roman was not going to win, even though I said maybe he would walk out as champion. But you're reading that Bray might have something to do with that. You read the spoilers.
Yeah.
But after that, you're like, okay, then who's it going to be? Who's it going to be? Is it going to be Orton? Maybe. Neville had a great performance. Could it be Ziggler? I'm really shocked it was Sheamus.
When Bray Wyatt came out, there was honestly a brief moment where I sat there and I just let it go, suspended belief and logic to storylining, and thought, are they going to let Bray Wyatt scale the ladder and grab the briefcase?
That would have been interesting.
Right? That would have been cool. But then, yeah, he takes out Roman Reigns, and then I immediately thought, all right, here we go. Bray Wyatt's feuding with somebody for absolutely no reason out of nowhere now, again.
Yeah.
Another Shield member in the same way. So I still somewhat buy into this whole something's with the Shield, but yeah, Sheamus winning was definitely a surprise. It was and it wasn't, because they typically seem to like to go with the heel winning these things. Keep in mind, back when Ziggler won it, Ziggler was a huge heel.
Yeah.
And people started loving him after he had won it, and that's why his cash-in was so big. Edge, way back when he had won it, he was a heel at the time. Obviously, Seth Rollins. So, they tend to go with that route. And you look at that match, and really who is, I guess, the most over as a heel in that whole thing? And I suppose it's Sheamus.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody else was. So, in that way, it makes sense.
But then on Raw, Brock Lesnar made his return here in Cleveland. Raw in Cleveland. I love his new shirt, by the way.
I like that you led off talking about Raw at the very end.
But I mean, Money in the Bank was okay, but
yeah.
I mean, it wasn't
which quick side note, the Dean Ambrose promo at the end of Money in the Bank. Did you see it?
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
That was good. That's a nice little. And he also did the bionic elbow during the match.
A lot of people, I'm thinking NXT. And almost NXT, everybody at NXT did an elbow spot for their match. But he had Lesnar come back the next night on Raw to set up.
I did love that T-shirt, though. Yes,
it was very. Hopefully you can get online, because I want the Cleveland, Ohio one. That was If they had every city he's not gonna be there every week on Raw, but like the city he does go into, maybe they'll have.
Yeah.
Or even where WWE goes, they'll have a customized one. But that was a nice touch. But he comes back, and obviously, when you heard the rumors that he's going to be here in Cleveland, and Rollins versus Lesnar is going to be great, and maybe Lesnar wins the title, and then Rollins versus Triple H at SummerSlam, and then you're going to have maybe Reigns versus Lesnar for the title at SummerSlam. So there's a lot of different match, and we're almost at SummerSlam already. This is this year's going by so quick. But I like that. But then you have, until Reigns goes against maybe possibly Lesnar, which is the rumor, you have him going against Bray Wyatt. But has Bray lost the luster? But I mean, is he boring now?
Because you know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
All right, we need him to keep somebody busy, and Bray doesn't necessarily win. Yeah. Doesn't necessarily lose either, I guess. But sometimes there's a I think that happened with Ambrose, where it was basically like disqualification. Or, I don't know, something happened.
Yeah,
I couldn't
then
remember
he
that.
faced Cena, and he was
Right.
giving a big push, and Cena beat him. Or like, here comes Super Cena, burying everybody. But he lost the Undertaker, and he just
Which you understand.
yeah, I get that. But then he was off TV for a little bit, and then comes out of nowhere to go against Reigns, which I like. But I feel like Wyatt needs a following. He needs to have people around him, because without that, it's kind of loses the whole luster and the mystery, mysterious Bray Wyatt. It kind of loses. He needs that kind of sidekick or sidekicks to go with the whole, I am,
Yeah.
follow the buzzers kind of thing. He should have some followers. So, what do you think about the New Day losing the tag team titles to the Primetime Play? That was kind of a shocker.
Was it though? I don't know. I think it was about time the primetime players got the tag team championship.
I do like the few. I mean,
it was awesome.
I do like. They're all talented, and I was hoping for New Day to hang on to them for a little longer. They're way getting over, and to see if it continues without the belt. So that was a shocker too.
Oh, that would have been the heel to win it with Kofi Kingston.
Yeah.
With New Day.
That would have been terrific.
Would have been a shocker.
I love how New
Would've
Day
been
got
great.
involved in the match.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool. A lot of run-ins. That was like a WCW style kind of booking. A lot of run-ins for the Money in the Bank. Did you like how they led off the night with Money in the Bank?
I didn't at first, but then they had their 3 big matches, and for spacing purposes, I get it.
Yeah.
So yeah, because those 3 matches all ate up most of that time, and the championship match went 45 minutes, I think. So
a very long time, because it was like 10:10 when they started coming out. I'm like, is this something has to happen?
Yeah,
Something has to happen. But they went all out.
I kept thinking that honestly. I kept, and I know that people were just going to shout at their TV screens when this was happening, but the whole time they were so far away from the ring.
Yeah.
I truly was thinking, all right, if I'm going to be an ass and really piss people off while they're all the way away from the ring, I'm going to let Sheamus cash in right now, come climb the ladder and grab the championship, and then have Brock Lesnar beat him at Battleground.
That would have been smart.
Or something,
Him coming out.
Let him be a transitional champ, whatever.
Yeah.
Would have gotten a lot of heat.
But pro wrestling isn't real.
Yeah.
That would be logical. No, you're right. But at the end, when they're kind of milking Triple H and Rollins together, and then JoJo interviewed Rollins.
Right. He says the best champion ever.
Yeah.
Which obviously sets up for, all right, now this is going to irk Triple H.
Is that the reason why Triple H has kind of, brought Lesnar back, even though Stephanie suspended him?
Yeah.
Why? That's
well, I think they did a good job at the end of Raw explaining about how he had been really trying their patience.
Yeah.
And pissing them off.
Yeah.
I think that was good. Although I would have loved to see Joey Mercury get the title shot.
That's
That's where the ending match. That should have just. Why couldn't that have been? And that match happens right now at the very end of Raw. Whatever, that would have been fine. And then Brock Lesnar comes back.
Yeah,
that would have been good.
So now they have 5 weeks to really promote the title match, and I think WWE's booking has done a pretty good job with these rapid fire pay-per-views lately.
Mm-hmm.
2 weeks between, it makes it kind of keeps them on their toes, forces them to be creative, and I think they've done a decent job. But 5 weeks, man, to promote a pay-per-view in this day and age.
Well, and I think that's why we didn't see any sort of physicality between Brock Lesnar and Seth Rollins.
Yeah, and Brock isn't going to be on every single Raw, most likely. So you're going to have Rollins on the mic, which Rollins is great with that laugh and that whole character. He's terrific. But I think to carry over the 5 weeks, we're going to see the Triple H Rollins angle kind of further on too.
Yes.
So we'll see that too. But I'm looking forward to Lesnar coming back. He's the big draw. He's the money guy. I think he's making like $140,000 per appearance.
Love having Brock Lesnar come back though.
Yeah, I totally love it, and looking forward to his match with Rollins. Rollins is a great worker. Lesnar is great in the ring too. It's going to be interesting to see these guys go one-on-one with each other and see what transpires next month at Battleground. So
Did you love Kevin Owens having a Brock Lesnar-esque evening, though, on Monday Night Raw? Coming out, cutting a great promo, just bashing John Cena and everything.
Loving him.
And then powerbombing MGK.
Onto the sofa cushions.
Yeah.
Like that wasn't too obvious.
But good for him for being willing to take it.
Somewhere, Bubba Ray Dudley is like yelling at his TV screen, like,
Yeah.
"No!" Like
Yeah.
that could have been more obvious. That's why they didn't show him hitting because it. Yeah, we know you got to protect the superstar.
Right.
Plus
A guy who's never
Machine-
taken a bump before.
Plus, Cleveland's own Machine Gun Kelly is probably 120 pounds soaking wet, so
Yeah.
wouldn't be too good. But yeah, that was. Hey, kudos to MGK for wanting to do that.
Absolutely.
I mean,
For taking that.
I would love to do that. I would gladly do it. But some people that might talk big would be hesitant on doing that. And
Right.
kudos to him going out there and Kevin Owens doing it. It furthers Kevin Owens. MGK, it puts WB back in the press because a big rapper.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not big, but I mean, he's
Well, in the hip hop world,
he's
he's huge.
Cleveland. Oh, man.
In popular
Hip-hop
everyday
is-
world, maybe not quite as much.
Right, but it puts WB in the news.
Yeah.
It puts him over, and Kevin Owens gets some more heat. Put in a hometown. I want to put quotations there because Machine Gun Kelly is not from Cleveland originally, but
Right.
puts the hometown guy and off the stage, which was terrific. I enjoyed it, and I love Kevin Owens' character.
And he took out Ziggler that night.
Owens is just tearing in that match with Cena. Owens is a great wrestler, and we can talk about Cena all we want, but I think he elevated Cena's level as a wrestler higher because Owens did some great moves with Cena, which takes two to tango, and then Cena brought out some new moves as well with the heavier Owens, some of those other moves. It very kudos to Cena putting on a great match, and
Two great matches.
the ending with Owens doing the powerbomb on the edge of the ring, which is terrific to Cena.
Yeah.
I don't care about Cena winning now. If they would have shook hands and left, I mean, like, damn it,
Yeah.
why?
Yeah.
But with Owens keeping heel, powerbombing him, and now Cena gets a little break. Maybe for a month,
And
then
you're going to
comes-
keep Kevin Owens around on major WWE television
and
for a
then
little
you
bit.
have him possibly come back for SummerSlam against Owens. We'll see.
Now
round
he wants
three.
the U.S. title match.
Something will be on the line. Maybe Owens will lose it to Balor in Japan. So Owens will lose the NXT title,
Sure.
and then Owens will be full-time WWE, and then we'll say, hey, well, I want the U.S. title now, and we do the round 3 match, which I would not.
Yeah, well,
argue
he
about
mentioned.
it all.
I mean, he mentioned on Raw. He said
Yeah.
next time we have that match, it's for that.
Yeah.
It's for the U.S. title.
It elevates it, makes it a big part of the storyline, and their match was definitely 4.5 stars. Out of
Both of
5.
those matches have been fantastic.
Terrific. It shows the storyline. It tells the story very, very well. Each guy got a win. Owens has the upper hand as the heel, powerbombing him on the edge of the ring. You have all that, and it sets up for round 3, maybe at SummerSlam, at the biggest party of the summer.
Yeah.
All right, Steve.
Party crasher, Kevin Owens.
Make sure to check out clesound.com for all the other podcasts. Also, check out AIWrestling.com. Absolution here in Cleveland, July 10th. Samoa Joe will be in town. EC3 will be in town. The Young Bucks will be in town. You're going to have a lot of and this match has contracted WWE, TNA, Lucha Underground,
Ring of Honor.
Ring of Honor, and Dragon Gate guys, all contracted by the respective federation in one single match, which is unheard of, at least nowadays. When you have Samoa Joe contracted with WWE,
Right.
and then you have TNA in the same match, same team. So check out AIWrestling.com. Come out here to Cleveland. We'll be there. Vader's going to be in town doing a meet and greet. So Samoa Joe will be there. Will be a meet and greet, and it's maybe one of the last chances you'll be able to hang out, on a one-on-one basis with Samoa Joe before he makes WB his full-time home for the foreseeable future. So clesound.com, AIWrestling.com. We have plenty of interviews to come in the coming weeks. We wanted to really dedicate this one to Dusty Rhodes, but we have Taylor Hendricks, Nick Gage, Little Guido, Dangerous Doug Gilbert, some of the ones that we have coming for you. We'll have plenty of interviews coming in from Absolution, AIW, as well. So sillysound.com. We'll see you next week. Steve, any final thoughts?
No. The American dream, baby.
Daddy. All right. We'll talk to you guys next week right here on the This Is Awesome Wrestling Show on CLEsound.com.
Tonight, I have wined and dined with kings and queens. Thank you.